Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to talk about a Screen Rant article that says Star Wars top 10 characters who changed Luke Skywalker the most. So if you guys know, I am a huge fan of Luke Skywalker. He's my favorite Star Wars character and my favorite Jedi. And the character of Luke has taught me like a lot, and I do my best to adopt some things that Luke does in the original trilogy, mostly in Return of the Jedi, that in my personal life. So yeah, he's such a great character, and I love the character. And if you guys haven't watched like, or at least the original trilogy of Star Wars, you guys should, because those are amazing. Anywho, let's go. Luke Skywalker is one of the greatest fictional heroes of all time, whose endeavors are the highlight of the Star Wars Skywalker saga. His story was transcended generations, with new installments like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Endor deepening the franchise lore, even 45 years after its inception. Although Luke was undoubtedly the greatest hero the galaxy ever had seen, he certainly had a great deal of help reaching that point. Along the way, there was several characters, both friends and foes, that helped Luke develop into the hero he always meant to be. Owen Beru. Now they get into the characters. Owen and Beru, that's one. Owen and Beru lores were the only family that Luke Skywalker had for the first 19 years of his life. Growing up without a father or mother, his aunt and uncle became his second parents, raising him on their farmstead on Tatooine, where they kept him safe from an empire he didn't know sought to kill him. Though Owen and Beru are not often featured in Star Wars films, their contributions to Luke's life cannot be understated. They loved their nephew like a son, protecting him when few others would. In the end, their tragic deaths served as motivation for Luke to join Obi-Wan on a mission to rescue the kidnapped Princess Leia. And now we are going to Padme. Padme Amidala is Luke Skywalker's mother, whom, though she died in childbirth, had a profound impact on her son's life. Portrayed by Natalie Portman in the prequel trilogy, Padme's characteristics and personality would transfer in part to her two children. Though Leia would grow to resemble her mother more than Luke would, it was her fond remembrance of the kind and sad woman, likely brought by the Force, that would push Luke to redeem his father. Even after her death, Padme's belief in Anakin's goodness would prove powerful, pushing their son to save Anakin from himself. And that's interesting. And then the wannabe Skywalker herself, Rey. Daisy Ridley's Rey had the rare opportunity to train under Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy. However, she found the aging Jedi a very different man than he had been during the Galactic Civil War. Depressed, destitute, and alone, Luke was a far cry from being a hero Rey had grown up hearing stories about. Though their time together was rather short, Rey managed to learn the ways of the Jedi from her new master. In turn, she would reinvigorate Luke's heroic sensibility, reminding him of everything he had once stood for. In the end, it was Rey's chiding that convinced Luke to rescue the Resistance in the finale of The Last Jedi. And then Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine and Luke Skywalker has only met once throughout the franchise, finally coming face to face in Return of the Jedi. Palpatine attempted to turn Luke to the dark side, just as he done to his father. The confrontation, however, will go most differently than Palpatine had hoped. Though Palpatine sought to corrupt and destroy Luke, the young Jedi instead rose to the occasion in the way that his father never had. Eschewing the dark side, Luke declared himself a Jedi, refusing to fall into the same pitfalls that had corrupted Anakin Skywalker. In doing so, Luke had proved his heroism once and for all, becoming one of the greatest Jedi ever lived. And so I think that's like what? 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're on 5. Han Solo. Sorry, Nemo. Han Solo and Luke Skywalker may have not gotten along upon their first meeting, but they would go to become very good friends. The two heroes would serve together for several years during the Galactic Civil War, eventually working in conjunction to bring about the fall of the Galactic Empire. Luke and Han together form one of the best friendships in the Star Wars franchise, as each contributed greatly to the other character arc. From Han, Luke learned a certain world awareness that would keep him from harm on several occasions, while also learning the true value of a good friend in times of need. Ben Solo is number 5, right? I'll lose count, but Ben Solo's the next one. Ben, one of the characters that profoundly affected Luke in negative regards is his former apprentice Ben Solo. After Ben began to struggle with the dark side, After Ben began to struggle with the dark side, Luke's actions spurred him to betray the Jedi, destroying Luke's temple and killing many of the Jedi therein, which initially led Ben Solo to becoming Kylo Ren. Ben's betrayal was surely one of the worst events of Luke's life, prompting him to disappear for over 30 years, believing himself to have failed the Jedi. Luke nearly allowed Ben's corruption to destroy him, only redeeming himself in the final moments of his life. Darth Vader. Darth Vader, once known as the Great Jedi Anakin Skywalker, had several interactions with Luke Skywalker throughout the original trilogy. After revealing to Luke's father, Vader attempted to turn his son over to the dark side, only to find himself redeemed in the moments before his death. Though Vader was perhaps more profoundly changed by his son than Luke was by him, the Sith Lord nevertheless had a major impact on the rising Jedi. The interactions between the two served as a crucible through which Luke was forced to prove his devotion to the Jedi, overcoming evil in favor of good. And now we're getting to Yoda. Master Yoda was one of the few Jedi to survive Order 66, who later took on one last apprentice in Luke Skywalker during the events of the Empire Strikes Back. He would train Luke over a short period, teaching him to become one with the Force in a way that he would never have been able to achieve before. It is a large part due to Yoda's training that Luke was able to become as powerful a Jedi as he did. It is through this teacher that Luke learned to avoid doubt and instead trust in the power of the Force. Though their time together was not as long as it should have been, Luke owes most of his heroism to his master. That is true. Ben Kenobi. Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi was a powerful Jedi Master and one of the most frequently recurring characters in Star Wars. Played by Alec Guinness in the original trilogy, Ben taught Luke the preliminary lessons of the Jedi before his death at the hands of Darth Vader. Luke had a soft spot for Ben, especially having grown up in the old man's proximity of Tatooine. It was through Ben that Luke had the first glimpse of his future as a Jedi, and it was Ben's voice that came to the young pilot during the Battle of Yavin, allowing him to trust the Force and destroy the Death Star and save the rebellion. And in Legends, I like to take a pause before going to the last character they have listed on here. Luke has such a soft spot for Obi-Wan that he named named his son after Obi-Wan, but more specifically calling him Ben in honor of Ben Kenobi. And then it was until I guess now in the Disney canon, Luke doesn't have a son, and you can say that Leia and Han named their kid after Ben, Obi-Wan. Which, I guess you can say the reason why Leia and Han called Kylo Ren Ben was the amount of time she spent with Obi-Wan in the Kenobi series, which I still think that it would be more appropriate to have Luke name his son Ben than Leia, because yes, sir, you can say that Leia went through a lot with Ben or Obi-Wan in the Kenobi series in that short time, but Luke had known Obi-Wan more of a personal level. Leia didn't really have that much of a chance to know Obi-Wan on a personal level. So, in my opinion, it would make more sense that Luke would have a child named after Obi-Wan than Leia, in my opinion. Just my opinion. If you guys feel differently, you guys are welcome to do that. That's just my opinion. Anywho, speaking of Leia, that's the last character, Leia Organa. Leia Organa was one of Luke's closest friends during his days in the Rebellion, who would later be revealed as to be his twin sister. The two would become quite close in the years following the Galactic Civil War, until Luke's sudden disappearance before The Force Awakens. Luke and Leia had a bond tighter than most other characters in the Star Wars franchise. They even pushed each other to become stronger heroes with each passing tribulation, marking their long-awaited reunion in The Last Jedi all the more emotional, as both characters seemed to realize that this meeting would be their last. And I think that reason why their last meeting was so cut so deep, maybe it was partially because of that, but it was also mostly because Carrie Fisher's sad passing. Carrie Fisher passed away, I want to say shortly before The Last Jedi came out, and it was unexpected, and I feel like Carrie Fisher's passing is the main reason why that scene that they mentioned is so emotional. But anywho, I do have to say, I 100% agree with Han and Leia. I agree with Owen and Peru. I guess you can say Padme. I don't really in the Disney timeline then Sir Ray, cause I hate to give I don't really hate to say it, but I hate to give The Last Jedi props, because that's my least favorite Star Wars movie. But Rey did rekindle that fire in Luke. So there's that. I can get their argument with Darth Sidious. I can get their argument with Han, as I said earlier. Ben Solo in the Star Wars Disney timeline, sure. Darth Vader for sure. Yoda for sure. and Obi-Wan for sure. So I agree with at least a good portion of them, like most of them. Anywho, I mean, I even though like with the whole Rey thing, I'm kind of like a standstill with it because it's kind of hard for me to put into words. But the reason why Rey is such a standstill for me, with being a big impact in Luke's life, was because I feel like the main reason why Luke had Rey around was to troll her or mess with her a bit. And it's a deleted scene that we got for the Last Jedi with the third lesson. I feel like I don't know. And maybe I'm having the reason why I'm having trouble seeing that is because I have a bias. So I don't know. So Rey they could have easily appointed, but I'm right now being too blinded. I could easily be blinded right now. But regardless, I like this article. They made some pretty good points. I'll admit, even the ones I'm struggling with seeing, I think they made some really good points. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And what would be your top 10 list for the people who changed Luke the most? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. And I'll catch you guys later. Later, taters.